Lament of a Warrior's Wife, from
Đặng Trần Côn,
2.
Hoàng Xuân Nhị.
Translated from French. No, she has forgotten everything, thinking only of her husband's departure. Another god than the god of war inspires her, dictates her touching farewells and bathes her eyes in tears. So true is it that the torments of the briefest absence exceed the strength of lovers. These verses by Catullus could just as well have been written in the Vietnam of the 1740s. It was during this troubled period, marked by military conscription, that the Lament of a Warrior's Wife,
Chinh Phụ Ngâm,
was composed. Amid the rolling of drums rise the tears of a young Vietnamese woman, whose husband, gone to the front, is slow in returning and never returns. All the sadness, all the revolt, all the anguish of waiting is expressed there with incomparable refinement. It is an intimate elegy, not a pamphlet, and yet it strikes such a note of helpless despair, such a sincere yearning for the gentleness and simple joys of love, that it awakens an instinctive aversion to war. Legend has it, indeed, that some soldiers, hearing it sung at twilight in the camps, would desert. Listen to the warrior's wife. Many are those who depart, few are those who return. On the fields of carnage, the soldier's adventurous life is all too like the color of leaves. This lament has been borne down to us by three exceptional figures, brought together across the centuries: an original poet, a translator of genius, and an intrepid francophone interpreter.
Đặng Trần Côn.
The original poet. Of
Đặng Trần Côn.
The annals have preserved the image of an absolute man of letters. When a curfew descended upon the capital,
Thăng Long,
present-day Hanoi, the author dug a clandestine cellar in order to keep secret vigil with his books. Who knows whether the humble lamp of his studious nights is not the very one immortalized in these stanzas? Perhaps the lamp understands me, or does the lamp not understand me? Then I shall suffer alone. The wounds of a country then torn between the lords of the north and the south lent his poem, written in classical Chinese, a terrible aptness. It was read and admired as far as China, and some, alarmed by the brilliance of such talent, exclaimed, "All his intelligence is manifest in this long poem. The author will live 3 years more at most." A grim and truthful prophecy.
Đặng Trần Côn
died 3 years later, driven, it is whispered, to suicide.
Đoàn Thị Điểm,
the translator of genius. The work, despite its merit, might never have spread among the people, had it not been for its translation into the national language by
Đoàn Thị Điểm,
called
Hồng Hà,
Rosy Reflections or Rosy Cloud. Her resolutely feminine version, inspired, if I may say, by the storms of the soul, rose to the rank of original creation, sometimes even eclipsing
Đặng Trần Côn
source text. Admirable as it already was, this shows to what degree the poetess possessed all the secrets both of the Chinese language and of her native tongue. Never before had the
Song Thất Lục Bát
meter, 7, 6, 8, so well suited to noble melancholy, been employed with such art. Each word is a tear, each verse a sob, from the heart, and it is a heart in flames, a heart in tempest, the pretty little heart of a woman wounded unto death by the diabolical arrow of love, and of the most serious love, conjugal love.
Hoàng Xuân Nhị,
the intrepid francophone interpreter. A few words, finally, on
Hoàng Xuân Nhị.
Present in Paris at the first thunder of the Second World War, he sought in the poetry of his ancestors a universal message to address to a Europe in flames. His journal describes the enthusiasm that one day made him walk, or rather fly, across the capital, declaiming aloud like a man possessed, like a madman. Parisians turned around with amused or pitying looks. Poor things, he thought, they would have been transported with delight and would have forgotten the infinite sadness of the war, had they but a drop of my great happiness. Why did he settle his choice upon the Lament of a Warrior's Wife? Because it was inscribed in his very blood from the cradle. Orphaned early, he had found in the infinitely precious tears of that noble and so pitiable woman, that Mariana Alcoforado of Far Asia, a maternal affection. To translate her, to interpret her, was to fulfill a humanist dream, set down in his journal on the 25th of December, 1940, an original synthesis, above all, a living one of two humanities, of two worlds, of the East and the West. That is what I have resolved to be, that is what I strive to be, that is what I am in the process of being. A pledge magnificently kept. Witness the reception accorded his translation. which Robert Brasillach hailed in these laudatory terms, Mr.
Hoàng Xuân Nhị,
has been able to bring his country closer to us. Man is one, from one end of the planet to the other, and, in reading the Meditations on the Flight of Days or on War, on the Pleasure of Loving, on Death, I thought now of Catullus, now of Homer, now of Corneille, of Mallarmé, of Valéry. It is fine to be reminded of these names, fine to know how to unite two cultures so dissimilar in appearance, and, without seeking any impure mixture, to help them understand each other.